Right now, the rules of power and advantage in finance are shifting toward two new centers of gravity: political will and artificial intelligence. These forces are currently testing the structures that hold the global economy together. At the center of the political struggle is the Federal Reserve. This is America's central bank, the referee of the U.S. economy. To function, it was designed to be insulated from political cycles, making decisions based on economic data rather than voter approval. The Fed's primary tool is the interest rate. By adjusting the price of borrowing money, they can either cool down inflation or jumpstart growth. It is a lever that affects every mortgage, credit card, and business loan in the country. Market trust relies on the credibility of that referee. If investors believe the score can be manipulated by whichever party is in power, the predictability of the entire financial system disappears. This independence faced a direct challenge in mid-2025. President Donald Trump began a public campaign to force Fed Chair Jerome Powell, his own appointee, to cut interest rates immediately. The conflict was a clash of timelines. The president sought the immediate economic activity that comes with cheap money. The Fed, however, was focused on long-term data, trying to prevent a resurgence of inflation. Powell and the majority of the board resisted the pressure. They maintained the rate between 4.25% and 4.50%, choosing to follow the internal economic models rather than external political demands. It highlighted a permanent tension. Politicians prioritize the current election cycle, while a central bank is built to prioritize the health of the economy over decades. The pressure eventually led to internal disagreement. In July 2025, two Trump-appointed governors broke with the majority to support his calls for a rate cut, the first time in over 30 years that two governors cast a joint dissenting vote. When the Fed chair didn't move, the administration shifted focus. In August, Trump announced he was firing Governor Lisa Cook, citing decades-old mortgage allegations. Cook denied the claims and had never been charged with a crime, leading analysts to view the firing as a tactical move to clear her seat. The case reached the Supreme Court. On June 29, 2026, the justices voted 5-4 to keep Cook in her position, ruling that the president cannot fire a Fed governor without showing actual legal cause. Yet on that same day, in a separate ruling, the court allowed the president to fire the leaders of the Federal Trade Commission at will. This created a unique legal boundary. While the president's authority over most government agencies has grown, the Federal Reserve now stands as the final institution outside the executive's direct control. These challenges to independent agencies follow an identifiable strategy, a 5-step playbook designed to gain influence over time. It begins with persistent public criticism. Next, the administration identifies a legal pretext, framing a policy disagreement as a misconduct issue. Third, they appoint loyal allies to any vacancies to shift the voting logic from the inside. Then they test legal boundaries through executive orders that force the courts to intervene. Finally, even a loss in court is framed as a procedural setback, keeping the pressure on the institution. This friction has real-world costs. If investors lose confidence in a central bank's independence, they perceive more risk in holding government debt. To compensate, they demand higher interest rates on treasury bonds, which raises borrowing costs for every business and household. These costs ripple into emerging markets like Nigeria. When the stability of U.S. monetary policy is questioned, global capital often flees toward safe havens, devaluing local currencies and raising the cost of international investment. Market stability relies on the credibility of the institution. When investors believe the referee can be bullied, they adjust the price of every loan and mortgage to reflect that new risk. While political friction is shifting power at the national level, a different kind of revolution is changing the advantage for the individual. Inside major financial firms, artificial intelligence is no longer an experiment. It is a primary driver of productivity, allowing analysts to process information at scales that were previously impossible. This bar chart shows the multiplier effect happening at Goldman Sachs. By using AI coding tools, their software developers are producing output 3 to 4 times faster than they could just a year ago. At JPMorgan, AI is analyzing legal documents to save 360,000 work hours annually. It has automated 40% of the groundwork in investment research and prevented $1.5 billion in losses through high-speed fraud detection. These tools are now standard. At Bank of America, over 190,000 employees utilize AI as part of their daily job. Wall Street is not adopting these tools for the sake of novelty. They are using them because the measurable productivity gains create a clear advantage over any firms still relying on manual processes. This redefines the competitive bar for anyone entering finance. Traditional skills like financial modeling and valuation are still necessary, but they are no longer enough to distinguish a candidate. The advantage now lies with those who can combine deep financial knowledge with AI proficiency. This combination allows a single analyst to provide the depth of research and speed of execution that previously required an entire team. Historically, new technologies integrate into the baseline of a profession. Just as analysts in the 90s had to master Excel to stay relevant, today's professionals are finding that AI is becoming the standard toolkit for the job. As the technical work is automated, value shifts towards human judgment. AI can process the data, but it cannot navigate ethical dilemmas, manage client relationships, or take responsibility for decisions made under extreme uncertainty. The evidence from Wall Street's biggest firms suggests that the advantage has moved to the intersection of money and machines. Navigating this landscape requires understanding the institutional guards of the past and the automated tools of the present.